welcome to this masterclass, Business Analyst, what next? Okay, let me just see if I can just slideshow from here. Okay, fantastic. Okay, is it better now? Does my screen look better now?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay.
I can see your
Well,
slide.
fantastic.
So maybe it's not in presentation mode, but
It is now.
it's still clear to me, very clear to me anyway.
Okay, okay. So, well, my name is Sam Daramola, and my first IT role was actually in the 80s. I got a job as I was doing IT admin, and over the years, I've gone through lots of different roles, lots of different functions within IT as well as the business. Some of the key skills that I've picked up over that probably about nearly 40 years is business analysis, cybersecurity, which led to enterprise architecture. I've also done UI UX as well as doing some Java development. Okay, I couldn't possibly put all my skills on here. I just wanted to highlight some of the important ones. So in terms of the industries that I've been in or that I've worked in aviation with Scandinavian Airlines. I worked in defense with the Ministry of Defense here in the UK. I worked in financial services, banks, insurance companies. I've worked within telecoms, BT, and even outside of the UK. I worked in KPN, the Dutch Telecom. I worked in Colombia, and I worked in Liechtenstein. Okay, I've also done some work for the government. Okay, and so to without boasting, um, I've lived for those who are business analysts here. You know, I've lived your dream already. Okay, so what we're saying now is business analysis. I mean, we all know the definition of business analysis. A business analysis is not a destination. Okay, it's just a launch pad. Okay, it's a starting point. Okay, but I wanted to perhaps just give you some background, in terms of the development of business analysis over the years. When I came into IT, it was big mainframe, IBM mainframes. Okay, we had big rooms that were housing computers. Uh, two g- uh, 2 gig was some of the memory that we had in a computer that was bigger than my TV or bigger than my bed. Okay, these days 2 gig will fit into a USB. Okay, and back in the days we for you to a lot of people who worked in a computer room, okay, because these computers were big and massive and they needed a lot of power. Um these A lot of the men who and women who worked in these computer rooms actually wore lab coats, white lab coats. Okay, but that's totally different now. Okay, so I just wanted to take you through the evolution of business analysis, the opportunities that are there, and what you can do, what steps you can take to strategically change your career. Okay, so back in the days, like I said, we didn't have business analysts. There was no discipline known as business analysis. What we had were systems analysts, okay, who were interrogating the computers. Okay, but then what we ended up having was lots of paper. Not only did we have lots of paper, the computers didn't really understand the human element of what the company was trying to do. So when in the 90s, companies and the industry in general now started to focus on business process reengineering, BPR, as well as enterprise resource planning. You had companies like SAP came out of that. Companies like Informatica came out of that, as well as Oracle came out of that. Okay. In the next decade, we in the 2000s, we started having prior to this, we had the traditional way of developing software. Hence, I'm sure you've heard of SDLC, software development lifecycle. Okay, you've heard of waterfall. These were traditional approaches that were being used in the 90s. Now, when we got to the 2000s, which was the height of the .com movement, a lot of companies were finding that, these were critics of the waterfall. They were finding out that waterfall was taking too long and it was very expensive. So they looked at ways in which they can decouple the waterfall model. And when they did that, they went into agile methodologies. They were saying, well, with waterfall, the documentation is too much. We don't need that much documentation. With waterfall is sequential. Whereby they wanted something that was iterative, which was more collaborative, which was delivering value to the customer, and so hence the rise of things like Scrum, Kanban, and extreme programming. Now, next decade, which was the 2010s, you had a rise of company who were data hungry, and hence they were shelving information on Excel spreadsheets, okay, and they were demanding analytics for their websites, analytics for the performance, sales performance, and analytics for so many other things, that the company was involved in. Okay, so and then coupled with that, you had a rise of automation tools, things like let's see, some of the are you guys familiar with Mega or things like EA? So these were the tools that were transforming the business analysis landscape, okay, and it was doing it in a big way. Now, over the last 5 years or so, there's been this shout of cloud. Okay, initially, kind of buzzword that's been going on last 5 years now. Cloud this, cloud that. And so much so that the people who got in early have made headway. Amazon is not a typical tech company, or was not a typical tech company. They're e-commerce guys, okay, but it got into cloud early. So much so that now, I mean, it's either AWS or GCP or Microsoft now. Okay, but AWS has the majority. So over the years, they've been using cloud and AI, which is quite recent now, to reshape the industry, to reshape the way that they're doing business, their business processes. Okay, and guess what? That's affecting the role of the BA. So right now, except you're a very senior BA who's focused on strategy or perhaps stakeholder management, Okay, you're going to need to educate yourself in cloud and AI. Okay, and these things will give you, especially if you want to stay technical, will give you advanced technical capabilities. And the reason why I'm going through all this history is because I wanted to show clarity, okay, to the business analysis journey up until now. So 90s, like I said, we had BPR and ERP. So whilst BPR focused on analyzing and redesigning the different business process workflows, and that in turn was used to optimize company efficiency. Okay, which led to changes in the way that business were interacting internally and the way that they did business in general. In terms of the ERP, so like I mentioned earlier, like SAP and Oracle, these ERPs came out really and truly to integrate core business processes, IT, finance, HR, into one system. If you go to places like what's it called, IKEA, you know how the the factory connects to the depot connects to sales, to finance, to front desk, is all done within an integrated system, which is SAP. Same with companies like Volvo, companies like let's see, even B&Q. Okay, and I know that they did try to implement SAP in some government departments in the past. Okay, and so it was just really wanting to um, enhance and promote data sharing within the company internally, and to make sure that they were operationally agile. Okay, across all the different departments. Okay, and so one of the things that one of the skill that you need to have is, as a BA, you need to be cross-functional in thinking. Okay, and you need to be able to gather cross-functional requirements. So obviously you might decide to do this through facilitating a workshop and all that stuff, but the core thing that is there is that you need to encourage collaboration, among the various departments, and you need to ensure that you're able to capture different stakeholder perspectives. Okay, and you need to agree upon them, for what's going to be what's going to align with strategic objectives for the company. So, i.e., strategic objectives might be in project documentation already. Okay, so whether you're creating a process, or system from scratch, or you're improving an existing system. Okay. So, and then in the 2000s, 2010s, we went into the agile and the digital era, where, like I mentioned earlier, you had Scrum, being one of the agile methodologies, which personally, I've up until now, I was never a fan of Scrum. Okay, but I've seen the benefits now. Okay, I mean, I train as an engineer, and I usually the industries that I've worked in have been quite rigid industries: defense, aviation. So I mean, when you're launching a measured system, that it's you just need to input in the exact specification. You sometimes don't really need things like Scrum. Okay, but however, there's other things in which you can use Scrum for, and which is why I, I advocate for a hybrid methodology. Okay, a hybrid framework. Okay, so in terms of governance, to use waterfall, and in terms of delivery, okay, to use agile. Okay, some people call it Wagile, but I stick to hybrid methodology. Okay, I don't know where that name came from, Wagile. Okay, it's it's not that commonplace, to use that in the industry. So yeah, um, as BAs, we know the importance of user stories. However, these have been before. Um, we've had things like rich pictures. You've had things like mind maps. You've had things like even Ishikawa, fishbone diagram. Okay, um, to capture or to even do root cause analysis. Okay, and during that 2000 to 2010 era, the emphasis shifted from heavy documentation uh, to collaboration amongst stakeholders, you know, uh, regular communication with the customer, you know, and having a shared understanding of what the requirements are and what the outcomes are, so that at the end, when you pass the finishing line, we're not in any doubt of what could have happened. We know what it is that we're expecting. So probably around the same time, around 2010, there was this drive by government, by companies to start looking at placing a lot of currency on data. Okay, whether it's the DWP, for example, or whether it's uh, Essex County. Okay, this is big data now, by the way. Okay, so but then how do we use business intelligence tools, okay, to help us with the analysis? How do we take structured and unstructured data and pass the data and then transform it, to impactful insights? Basically, how do we tell a story with data? Okay, as BAs now, okay, or as BAs who are pivoting or transitioning into other roles now, okay, we already have that skill, okay, and we should be able to use that skill, so and then we've got analytics, which is really helped business analysis in general, to be able to interpret, very vague data sets, complex data sets, and even ambiguous data sets, So which what it does is, it's fixed that hole, that gap, that would ordinarily be there, which doesn't allow us to see patterns. It doesn't allow us to see trends. But with the help of analytics now, we're able to see that. We're even able to do predictive analytics. Okay, given this is the behavior or the performance of this data set, okay, tell us how it will perform over the next 36 months, 72 months. We're able to use data to do that now, which is fantastic, which our companies love us for that now. So one other thing in that space is robotic process automation. Okay, I'm sure we some of us are familiar with it. Whereby I mean, it just mimics automation mimics what a human being will do. Okay, so for example, instead of sending responding to every job applicant one by one, okay, you set up an email script that will do that. That's RPA. That's robotic process automation, or to automatically generate process orders to um, to do things like onboarding. When a new employee joins the company, okay, what process do they need to go through? Okay, by properly using RPA, you're able to complete that task. Yeah, so now we have the modern technical BA, okay, and really and truly, right now, okay, we as a BA, we need to be transitioning into cloud, AI, data, and cybersecurity. We need to know at least one of these things. Now, it's is getting less popular now for companies to be looking for a BA just to elicit requirements. Any secondary school person can do that. Just going around asking questions, and then documenting. So now you have to have a skill. You have to have a specialist skill attached to the BA that you're doing. So now where now that everybody is going to companies are going into cloud now, okay, there's the emergence of cloud technology. I mean, name a FTSE 100 company that doesn't have cloud. Yes, I mean, previously people were scared. Previously companies were hesitant, but now it's a must-have now, as they're trying to leverage the cost of on-prem and cloud. So, and what they're seeing from the analysis is that being on cloud now, frees them to focus on the core business. Being on cloud now gives them a certain level of business agility and operational efficiency. So a lot of companies now are really spending a lot of money going to the cloud now, whether it's Azure, AWS, or Google. Okay, so we also have the rise of low-code platforms, that are giving BAs the skill to be able to create applications and workflows. I mean, these days, you don't no coding is needed in creating some applications and some workflows now, which means that as a BA, you can easily do these things to help your team, to adapt to the changing requirements of the business, and to improve your communication and your collaboration, cross-functionally within the company. ChatGPT is everywhere now, okay, and AI is everywhere now, okay. However, if you think that if your knowledge of AI is just ChatGPT, well, you need to learn some more. Okay, so however, we're saying AI, we're mentioning machine learning, in one sentence. Machine learning has been around for a long time. I mean, well, I remember when I did university over at Unilag in the early 80s, I did machine learning. But academia did not understand how to apply machine learning at the time. So machine learning stayed with academics for a long time. It stayed in the academic community for a long time until they understood how to apply it. And as soon as they understood how to apply it, okay, it was they were able to sell it commercially. It left their hands and it went commercial. Now it's taking what, about 40 years. But now that we have AI and automation, things are not going to take that long anymore. Okay, things are going to be a lot quicker. So the reality of today's technical careers is that technology is shifting now. The cycle is not that long anymore. The cycle is between 18 and 38 months. Okay, you don't have so much, like I said earlier, you don't have so much traditional BA roles anymore. A lot of roles, even though they're advertising for a BA, but they need so much from you. They want somebody who is hybrid, who's cross-functional, who's interdisciplinary, and has some I can use AI for some competitive advantage. Okay, so right now, I mean, most of the projects that we're on now, okay, we've been honest, we're being in the center of some sort of business change program or digital transformation project. So right now, the question is no longer, but what capability, am I building? What skill set am I adding to being a BA? Because right now, as you probably can tell, BAs are cheap now. I saw the other day. I saw a BA for $350 a day. I'm like, what's this? Back in the days, it was $550. I mean, so like you probably figured, I got into IT quite in my teens. In my 20s, I was working very hard. In my 30s, I was working very smart. Okay. By the time it came to my 40s, okay, I was so good at what I did that I was earning double, treble, whether I was daily rate or even salary. I mean, I bet there's some BAs who are earning double your salary right now. What do they have? What's differentiating them? So BAs now, they are perfectly positioned to transition. They're perfectly positioned for evolution. And as BAs, you have a lot of strengths. You have a lot of skills that you can transfer to any industry. BA skills, okay, are industry agnostic. Which industry does not need analytical thinking? Which industry does not need requirements gathering or elicitation or engineering? Which industry does not need stakeholder management or process optimization? Now, you can do a certain level of process optimization, but ultimately, if they need something more than that,
Oh, really?
No, sorry, so.
Okay, so if you need something more than what a BA offers in optimizing the process, you can look at improvement methodologies like Lean Six Sigma. Okay, I mean, these were what companies like Toyota used, back in the days. Companies like GE in America, and a lot of companies are using Lean Six Sigma now, even in the UK. Even banks, NatWest is using Lean Six Sigma. Hospital NHS is using Lean Six Sigma. Yeah, because they're trying to cut down on waste, whether it's process waste or any kind of waste. So yes, BAs have certain core skills and core strengths that you can take anywhere. They're good at problem solving, under not enough requirements or no requirements at all. Even when the project manager is pushing you, Sam, yeah, have you come up with the requirements? Well, I don't know. The project hasn't outlined what requirements I need to be looking at. But we still thrive under those conditions. We have skills of communication and facilitation. It's not just the project manager that has good communication skills. As BAs, we need to have that too. And we need to be able to facilitate. As a matter of fact, some of a significant amount of the work that we do sometimes can be facilitation. Whether it's facilitating a meeting of stakeholders or facilitating a workshop when perspectives are not clear. When you speak to HR, they have a different perspective. You speak to IT, they have a different perspective. You speak to finance, they have a different perspective. Right? Okay, bring everybody into a room and let's talk about it. Okay, so then you have systems thinking also. You're able to look at the as is, okay, and say, do you know what? These are the issues with the as is, okay? These are the things that need to get better, okay? And then you're able to transition that into the to be, into the future state. Okay, these skills are currency across all tech roles. System thinking, analytical thinking. You need as somebody who's in tech, you need all those skills. And as BAs, you already have it. So why don't you transition it to where it is that you want to transition to? At a certain point, as BAs, we have questions. We have a dilemma. Okay, we reach a point when we're starting to ask, okay, I've done this BA thing for 4 or 5 years now, do I stay, but I'm a technical BA, do I stay technical or do I move into leadership? Do I specialize or do I pivot into a new domain entirely? Okay, what we're looking at this evening, hopefully, should answer all the 4 questions that you might have. Okay, if you have any. Okay, so what career pathways are there available for you as a BA to transition to? Okay, I've got about 7 or 8 pathways. Okay, the first one, which is a senior or lead BA. Okay, so if you enjoy analysis, you want to stay in analysis, you want to coach junior BAs, you want to lead discovery, yeah, perhaps that's for you. Okay, now the growth areas that you can go into, okay, enterprise architecture. Okay, I've been an enterprise architect for quite some time now, which is why jokingly I said to Tolu at the beginning, I'm not in IT. I speak to the business. Okay, I speak to them. I roadmap the strategy, and I speak to technical teams, trying to translate the business requirements into technical spec. Okay. Another area you can grow into is operating model design and complex transformation. Especially with the government these days, there's a lot of complex transformational programs. It's almost as if they join all these really complicated projects together. I'm sure we understand what a program is and the difference between a program and a project, right? So we know what a project is clearly. Okay, so a program is, for lack of a better word, a collection of project portfolios that would affect the strategic direction of the company. So a program will typically be done in every function. So that same thing will be implemented differently in IT, in HR, in finance, in sales, so that together, the outcome and the value would change and would transform the direction of the company. Okay. So another growth area of being a senior or lead BA is being a BA manager or practice lead for a BA. Okay. And what are some of the transferable BA skills? Requirements gathering or mastery, facilitation, like we mentioned earlier, and being able to analyze and model business activities. I'm sure some of you have read the Daramola book, right? That's the industry standard. Okay, I one of my friends told me she got a job with she just finished her training, not with me, but she did her training elsewhere, and she got a job with the forest agency, with the government, and because she had picked up a lot of bad habits, her boss had to tell her, have you read the Business Analysis fourth edition book by Deborah Paul? And she was like, no, should I? And well, even though I thought that was being a bit rude and proud, but he told her something. Yeah, that book, if you're a BA, you need to know the book inside out. Okay, so and all these things that we're mentioning, they're in there. Right. The second pathway, that I wanted to mention was being a product owner or product manager. Okay, product ownership and product management. Okay, why would BAs do well in this? Because BAs are the people who have a deeper understanding of user needs. BAs, especially if they're on agile projects, okay, they have experience with product backlog or any kind of backlog management experience, and they have a strong communication with development teams. Okay, so what skills do you need to add as a BA to go into product ownership or product management? Yeah, you need to know about product vision, product strategy. You need to know how to roadmap, to prioritize, and just to be commercially aware. Even though as a BA, you need some commercial awareness, but in terms of a priority, that's not high on the list, especially for if you're not a senior BA. For senior Bs, of course, you need commercial awareness. You need domain knowledge of the industry that you're in, and you need to have the experience of what the external factors are that are affecting the company. So I suppose you would say PESO. Okay, you need to have knowledge of performance targets, KPIs, and what's called CSF, critical success factors. Okay. The third one is project or program management. Okay, I mean this is easy peasy. Okay, very natural progression. You already manage. I mean, let me just say this: there are differences between the role of a project manager and a BA. However, there are similarities between the role of a project manager and a BA. The similarity here is that the project manager manages project risk. You as a BA manage product risk. The project manager manages project scope. You manage product scope. Both of you manage stakeholders. Okay, and in addition to that, for you to transition into project or program management, you understand delivery life cycle. Yeah, you know when things have to be done. Okay, the only skills that you need to add, as a program manager or program director or project manager, is you need to be able to do a budget. Okay, you need to be familiar with the financial planning within the business case. You also need to be familiar with work breakdown structure and resource planning. Okay, you need to be familiar with the way that projects are run properly. So you need either Prince 2 or what's called MSP, which is managing successful programs. Okay, if you're going to work for the government, okay, you're going to need this either one of these governance framework. Okay, if you're going to work in a controlled environment, you're going to need that. But if it's agile, okay, you still need to know Scrum. You need to know the Agile Manifesto. Okay, and then you'll be working as a Scrum Master. Okay, so here the skill that you need to the last skill that you need to add is leadership and negotiation. Okay, if you're a project manager or program manager, you need to be able to show leadership, and you need to know the art of negotiation. With it might be with suppliers, it might be with external parties, even if you have maybe the product owner with you, or you have the senior supplier with you, you still need to have negotiation skills as a project or program manager. Okay, the fourth one is UI UX. Are we all familiar with what UI UX is? User interface and user experience. Okay, there's quite a number of jobs now for the government as UX people. Reason being, they're still on what's called the GDS. I worked on a program probably about 3 years ago. The GDS is the government digital strategy. Okay, they haven't finished it. Okay, there's 40. I worked at the cabinet office, and there's 45 different parastatals. I suppose we Nigerians will call it ministries. Yeah, that are attached to the cabinet office. Okay, the government is trying to roll out this strategy, and as part of this strategy, they need to understand the user experience. So, of course, because it's to do with users, BAs would excel. They will fit in perfectly because they already have a user-centric mindset and they have a journey mapping experience. Okay, the skills that you need to add, though, okay, if you're going to go into UI UX, okay, you need to know how to prototype. You need to have design thinking, and you need to learn about usability testing. Okay, but these things, well, I'm happy because these days the resources are everywhere. You know, with the whether they're books, whether they're PDFs on the internet, whatever. And if you decide you don't even want that, yeah, go to ChatGPT.
Hi, Sam. Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
Well, my name is Olarus on here, and I just want to. I don't know what your modules is, but I'm wondering if people can ask questions. Maybe if you can break, and people can ask questions and you answer while you're having a sip of water or something of that sort.
Yeah, sure.
Because for me, it seems to be a bit quiet. Sorry, Tolu.
Why don't you leave it, Olarus? Why don't you leave it until when you finish? So I will just take note of
Oh,
it.
Amos is here. Oh, sorry. Okay, go on.
Because
Whichever way.
we're enjoying his lecture, and there's a lot to take in.
Okay.
No, I'm quite. I mean, I'm indifferent. You know. If but I'd rather finish. And then you can ask. We can have a discussion. You know. About what I've talked about. Yeah. Or just any questions that people want to ask. Yeah. Okay. So let's carry on. The fifth pathway is data analysis and data product roles. Okay, you're going to be good at it as a BA because you already know how to interpret data. You know, you're familiar with KPIs. Okay, and you know how to gain to draw insights. You know, and storytell. Okay, so the only skills that you need to add to that, if you're going to go into a data role right now, you need to know a bit of SQL and Python. Okay, you don't need to be a guru, but at least you need to know the basics. Okay, and you need to know your way around a few BI tools. Okay, Power BI, Tableau, especially. I mean, you can leave R. Okay, and you need to know about data governance too. Okay, so with those skills, if you add those skills to your existing skill set now, okay, you can easily pivot into data analysis or any data product roles. Okay, this is my favorite actually. Pathway 6. I mean, I did a master's in cybersecurity about 20 years ago. So yeah, and I've spent some time doing IP security research as well as being a cybersecurity manager over at Reuters. I mean, why would BAs transition well into cybersecurity or risk? Because you already have the knowledge of process mapping, okay? You already have an understanding of controls, and you have the discipline of creating and managing documentation. Okay, these are skills that are going to do you well. If you end up going into cybersecurity or risk. Okay, so however, in terms of knowledge, okay, you need to learn. You need to find out and learn about the security frameworks. Okay, NIST, which is American, NIST, okay, National Institute of Science and Technology. Okay, you need to learn about that, and you need to learn about risk management. Okay, and sorry, security management, which is ISO 27001. Okay. You also need to be aware of threat modeling. For you to look at a threat landscape and say, you know, who are the actors here? Okay, the actors are either hackers, script kiddies, even competitors, you know, and nation states. You know, one of the reasons why from 2000 and about 10 years ago, the UK decided to spend about over 5 billion on the national security strategy is because we're getting threats from Russia, and we didn't have the security posture, neither did we have the security skill to deal with it. So they employed more people at the National Crime Agency. They employed more people at the National Cybersecurity Center, you know, and they spent money in schools and universities. They gave people like Lancaster University, Westminster, Warwick, they gave them money to start cybersecurity programs. Okay. And also you need to know about risk assessment. Okay, how to identify risk, how to assess risk, you know, how to decide on risk, and how to mitigate risk. Okay, sounds easy, right? For those of us who want to stay technical, okay, there's either, well, there's not either, there's solution architecture, okay, or there's integration architecture, okay, or maybe security architecture. Okay, after you've gotten the knowledge of cybersecurity. The reason why you would do well as a BA is because solution architecture requires your systems thinking. It requires you to break down requirements. And the skills that you need to add right now, okay, now we know that everybody has on-prem, but then also almost everybody is going to cloud. So you need to know what things that your company is going to be doing in the cloud. Now, because over the years, a lot of companies have amassed and acquired lots of different disparate systems, where, you know, it is not easy for certain systems to speak to each other. Okay, so what you now end up doing is you now end up integrating these systems. Okay, you need to know about integration patterns. Okay, and you need to know about architectural frameworks. Okay, most popular one right now is TOGAF. TOGAF is an acronym which is the open what's it called, the Open Group Architectural Framework. Okay, this came about by lots of different companies, Pricewaterhouse, Capgemini, IBM, you know, deciding on this. Okay, there's also another one called Zachman's. Okay, Zachman's is actually, well, some people say it's too technical. Okay, but with TOGAF, you can explain stuff to senior management. Okay, it's easy to follow. Now, there's another one called DODAF, and that's specific to an industry, and that's to the defense industry. So that's what they use at NATO, and that's what they use at what's it called, Ministry of Defense here, and that's what they use at Department of Defense in America, DODAF. Okay. I think this is probably one of the last pathways. Eighth pathway is you're thinking AI, you're thinking automation, you're thinking digital transformation. Okay, right now there's a lot of emerging roles. Okay, there's AI business analyst. Have we heard of that? There's automation strategist. Okay, this is quite common. Digital transformation lead. Okay, and then there's a process automation consultant. Okay, these are roles careers which we can pivot to, and which we can what's called tailor our CVs to, and start finding jobs in them. Okay, what do you need? Okay, you need to know about AI, obviously. Okay, again, going back to RPA, okay, robotics process automation, you need to know what tools you can use for automation. And definitely, you need to know about change management. Okay, so I think perhaps at this time we can have a quick break. Okay, or we can ask questions for the part that we have done, or for what you've heard so far. So I've got my water next to me, so I'm quite happy to take questions at this point.
Thank you, Sam. Please, does anyone have any question? Or we also have some senior BAs amongst us too. Maybe we can share experience, one or two experience, or please. Yes, Pastor Amos.
Good afternoon. I would say good afternoon. Good evening, Sam. And
Good evening, Brother Amos.
That's a very, very interesting, very educative, in fact, very knowledgeable presentation. And I'm just being blown off from where I am, because as a BA, there's a lot of new knowledge that you imparted into me today, because I could see the reason why, because the BA profession is very saturated now. A lot of people comes up with a BA CV, but from what you could be able to lecture tonight, I learned a lot in terms of a lot of skills that need to be added or inputted into our CV to be able to be out there in the market. And I can't thank you enough for the knowledge tonight, because every of the slides I have to be jotting down, and I have to see reason if I have to improve on the level I am now. A lot of those BA skills, new skills that need to be put into my CV. So I will say once again, thank you. We're enjoying you, and we still want to hear more from you.
Thank you, Brother Amos. Anybody else? Any questions? Or anything you're not clear about? No?
Looks like there's no question.
Okay. Well, let's. Do you mind if I move on?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, the second part of my presentation is about what skills are going to power you to the next level. What transferable skills are going to power you to your next level? Okay. Now, there's been a lot of digital disruption in the last 5 years or so. So whether you're a BA, whether you're a tester, your cybersecurity, you need to, especially as a BA now, okay, you need to be AI literate. There's no excuse now. Okay. And I'm not asking that you become an AI engineer. No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. You need to be comfortable with the technology. You need to be comfortable using AI tools. Also, as a BA, you need to be able to use data to tell a story. When you're presented with data, okay, you're expected to take it in. You're expected to understand it, and you're expected to draw insights from data now. So, business analysis is not what it used to be 10 years ago. In fact, What am I saying? It's not what it used to be 5 years ago. You need, as a business analyst now, you need to know cloud basics. You need to know fundamentals of cloud computing. And as the world is changing, there are an increased amount of cybersecurity threats now. And so as a BA, you need to be aware. Either you listen to the news, or you search on the internet, or you subscribe to a newsletter somehow. Actually, one of the questions that interviewers ask, what they've been asking for a while now, is how do you keep up your skills as a BA? Okay, so these are some of the ways in which we can tell them or convince them that we're keeping up, our skills as BAs, by attending industry function, by subscribing to industry newsletters, or doing personal research. So as BAs also, we need to have a product mindset. Okay, I mean, we mentioned about scope earlier. So we are the people who are asking the questions why and what. Okay, so we need to have a product mindset. So the two other ones are skills that you need to add to your resume now, or to your skill set now, to your toolbox now, is leadership and influence, as well as commercial acumen. I think I mentioned that earlier. You need to add, you need to be able to stand out, within a room full of bees. That's influence. That's leadership. And you need to find out about the industry. You need to find out about the industry that you're in. Okay. All right. Let's carry on. The third part of what I wanted to talk about this evening was, so having heard all that, how do you use sense? How do you transition strategically? Well, it's not easy, but you need to be methodical. Okay, the first step is to identify what is called your career archetype. What I mean by that is what persona fits you as a BA. Do you see yourself as a builder? Okay, I don't mean somebody building a house, but what I'm trying to get at is, if you're somebody that likes to build, process, you like to build a new way of thinking, you like to build future states. Okay, you might want to be thinking of transitioning into product ownership, product management, or architecture if you're technical. But then not every part of architecture is technical. Okay, I worked as technical architect for a long period of time, and then I transitioned to what's called an enterprise architect. It's very non-technical. Okay, it's still governed by TOGAF. Okay, but then what I'm doing is I'm speaking to the business, and I'm speaking to and sometimes I have solutions architects under me, and I have BAs under me. Okay, so the solutions architect will take my high level architectural diagram or document, okay, put it into a solution designs, okay, and descriptions, and then give it to the BA, and then give it to the BA. Or the BA works with either myself or the solutions architect. Depends on availability. Most enterprise architects that I know, they're usually quite busy, okay, and you need to convince them that it's worth their time for them to spend time with you. But if you come as a BA or as anybody, as a matter of fact, not really knowing anything, not really proving that you understand what it is that has to be done, we're not going to spend time with you. So the second archetype is, if you think you like planning things, you like coordinating things, you like, yeah, maybe you want to be a project manager, or you want to be a delivery manager or delivery lead. There's been a lot of delivery lead or delivery manager positions come out in the UK last 3 years. Whether it's with the government or whether it's with some sort of service provider. Okay. The third archetype is, do you see yourself as Inspector Gadget? You know, are you an investigator? Okay. Maybe you want to investigate data, or you want to investigate security, cyber. Maybe that might be where you might transition to. Or are you more creative? You know, are you more of a designer? Okay, designing systems, you know, or services. Not necessarily systems, but process and services. Maybe you can, maybe it's just even designing the customer experience journey. Okay, or whether it's designing or improving a process or a service. You might want to think about UX or service design. Okay. I think the last one, the last archetype, is, are you a strategist? Okay. If you're that, if you like coming up with strategies, you know, you might want to go into consulting. I mean, I know senior BAs who earn over 100,000 in the city. Okay, they're BAs, but they're working with banks. Okay, and they have a tight, and the grade they're in is assistant vice president. They're earning 125,000 permanent job. Or you might want to transition into transformation. You know, digital transformation, and helping. Digital transformation is not a technical role. Okay, the digital transformation consists of lots of different ingredients: culture, the people, the process, you know, the technology, the change, all that stuff. How do you strategize that, you know, to get your company or to give your company competitive advantage over their competitors? Okay, that's the first step. Yeah. Step 2. Okay, you need to be able to map your skills to the role that you're targeting. And what are advice is, you know, perhaps not now, at some other time, you know, get a pen and paper, you know, or you can do it on a computer. Okay, just draw skills gap matrix. Okay, what skills do I currently have, or what skills do I already have? Okay, I have requirements gathering, I have analytical thinking, I have this. Okay, what do I need to transition to where I'm going? And which one of these things can I learn quickly? I know people who've never heard of UI UX before. They picked up a book, they read it over and over again, and they applied for the role and they got the role. And they knew more than the people who are doing the role. Okay. The last one is, does it require certification? Okay. Now, I know as Nigerians, we like to read, we like certification, we like, but sometimes not everything is certification. I worked in this country for years and years when they were asking for Microsoft certification. I didn't have Microsoft certification, but I was earning more than people who had Microsoft certification. So before you make an investment into certification, I mean, training, yes, that's fine. Yeah, training is good. Okay, but before you, because some of these certifications these days, they're quite expensive. They want you to pay to register. I mean, I did a few. I think last year I did what's called the CISA, CISM, and two other ones. You know, and the to register was one amount, to do the exam was another amount, and then after you've done that, you still have to pay for membership. It's like when is and it's yearly. I'm like, when is all this going to end? You know, so be wise is all I'm saying. Yeah. And be prudent too. Okay. So step 3. Okay. Build a plan, build a transition plan. Okay. So, or like a portfolio. Okay. So that when it comes to interview and they're asking you, so Tom, tell us a situation when you did this and you did this and you did that. You know, you already have these case studies of different industries using different skill set that you have. Okay, get familiar with process maps, user stories, you know, data insights, you know, and transformational outcomes. One question that I know that they always, most of the time, ask BAs is this: tell us about dealing with a difficult stakeholder. Okay? Sorry, excuse me. And we might think it's a trick question, but it's a valid question. You know, how do you deal with difficult stakeholders? And you know what? They're referring to the what's it called? The what's that matrix now? The matrix that has the power and the interest. Okay, if they have high power and high interest, what do? You know, is it that you management closely. I can't remember what it says now. But if they have low interest and low power, you ignore them. So that's a guide to answering that kind of question. Okay. I mean, they know that people will try to amplify the truth, what it is that they think they've done. You know. Step 4: always leverage your BA experience is your superpower. So leverage it. Leverage your BA experience as your superpower. So now, okay, you're saying to them, I translate complexity into clarity. I align business and technology together because, right, let me say this. Business without IT right now is no business. IT needs business. Yeah. So business and IT right now, they're the same. Because every business needs IT now. Every business needs IT as a competitive tool. Otherwise, you'll be out of business. I mean, back in the days, you had a European telecoms company, you know, and then all of a sudden you had iPhone. Okay? iPhone, Apple took out Nokia. Dell and HP took out Compaq. I don't know if you guys remember the age of the Polaroid pictures. They kept telling Kodak, you need to innovate. You need to use IT. Oh, no, we'll be okay, we'll be okay, we'll be okay. And then you had this tiny company from Japan called Fuji Films. They started making disposable cameras. The market was shifting, gradually. And then by the time we had the era of selfies, it was gone. They wiped out the business. They ended up filing for bankruptcy. So for anybody who's serious about doing business, okay, they need to use technology. So let me just make one other example. Blockbusters. Okay. I led a team that went to Blockbusters, okay, to tell them to start to stream their videos. That we should download the videos and put it on the internet. Well, no, that's not our business model. And then came a small company called Love Films. They started doing that. My company was started doing that. And then all of a sudden, some guy got some big grant from for Netflix. Where's Blockbusters today? They're gone. So going back to the narrative as a BA, so your narrative now becomes: I translate complexity into clarity. I align business and technology to drive measurable outcomes and to drive value. This statement, cuts across every technical role. This is an attractive statement, whether you're a BA or someone else. Okay? And you need to know what your superpower is as a BA. Okay, we're rounding up slowly. Okay, so what's the future of business analysis? Who's the BA of the future? Okay, the BA of the future is AI savvy, is data driven, is product aligned, is strategically placed or influential, and they're in the center of digital transformation. Okay. Final thoughts. Business analysis is not the end. Now, like I said earlier, business analysis is not the destination. It's just a bus stop. Okay, it's a bus stop where we can change buses. Okay, it's a launch pad where you want to go to leadership, technical mastery, strategic influence, digital innovation. Okay, it's up to you to define your next chapter. And the next chapter, your next chapter, is going to be defined by the skills that you have. Yeah. So that's basically the end of the presentation. Okay. At this time, I would entertain questions. Okay. But before I start entertaining questions, okay, deep down in you, what pathway resonates with you the most? What pathway do you think is the most strategic for you, and that you might likely go into? Yeah. I don't want you to tell me the answer. Okay. I want you to think about it. Okay. And whether tonight, tomorrow, next couple of days, write it down and work towards it. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you. I shall make this presentation available to Mr. Tolu. Okay, so if you're interested, yeah, you can have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a bomb. Do we have any question? Just like we said, this is applicable to all, though we have spoken extensively about BA, but anyone that wants to transition or grow in their role as well, you can apply the same format. 20 people started and 20 people finished. That means everybody were really enjoying the flow. So thank you very much.